The atmosphere in the room had been warm, lively, and filled with laughter. Glasses clinked, conversations flowed, and the music provided a gentle hum beneath it all. My wife, Hannah, moved effortlessly through the crowd, a vision in red, her lips curled in an effortless smile as she charmed our guests. She had always been the perfect hostess, graceful, admired, and envied by many. She lived for these moments, for the validation, for the admiration. But tonight was different. Tonight, she was standing at the edge of a cliff, and she had no idea she was about to fall. As I watched her from across the room, my fingers tightened around my glass. If only she knew what was coming. If only she knew that I was done being the clueless, devoted husband she had mocked behind my back. Looking back, the signs had always been there. The late nights at work, the sudden disinterest in intimacy, the way she guarded her phone as though it contained state secrets. But I had ignored them. I was raised to believe that marriage was built on trust, that doubting your spouse was the first step toward losing them. And so, I had convinced myself that my suspicions were nothing more than paranoia. That was before I found out my wife was a serial cheater. It started with a gut feeling, that icy grip in the pit of my stomach whispering that something was wrong. Hannah had been distant for months, but the biggest red flag? She had stopped arguing with me. It sounds strange, doesn't it? But our bickering had always been part of our marriage. The playful disputes over where to eat, the debates over whether to get a dog, the occasional disagreements about money. And then suddenly, she didn't care anymore. When I forgot a dinner date, she just smiled and said it was fine. When I splurged on a new gaming setup without telling her, she barely blinked. That was when I knew. And so, I did what any IT security professional with a cheating suspicion and the technical advantage to uncover the truth would do. I started digging. I installed software to retrieve deleted messages. I accessed her cloud storage. I checked her location history, her Uber receipts, everything. And what I found shattered me. Her text messages with a man named Ethan painted a picture of a woman I barely recognized. Thrilled by the deceit, mocking my obliviousness, confessing that she wished she had married someone more exciting than me. But Ethan wasn't the only one. There was another man. 2 affairs. 2 different men. My wife had been sneaking around with both of them, laughing at me behind my back. For a week, I did nothing but process the devastation. The betrayal burned through me like acid, the humiliation suffocating. I imagined confronting her, demanding answers, watching her scramble for excuses, fake tears rolling down her cheeks. But that wasn't enough. No, I wanted her entire world to crumble the way she had destroyed mine. And that's when I had an idea. Hannah was obsessed with appearances. She thrived on being admired, on being the woman everyone envied. Our social circle was filled with high-status couples, people whose opinions mattered deeply to her. What better way to expose her than to unveil the truth in front of them all? For 2 weeks, I meticulously gathered every piece of evidence. Messages, voice notes, location history, even the explicit videos she had saved to her cloud drive. Every moment of her betrayal, captured and preserved. Then I planned the party. The night arrived, and Hannah was in her element. She laughed, twirled in her dress, and basked in the admiration of our guests. Ethan was there too, unsuspecting, sipping his drink, thinking he was just another guest at another glamorous evening. And then the second man arrived, with his wife by his side. It was almost too perfect. I clinked my glass, gathering the room's attention. Everyone, I began, my voice calm, steady. I'd like to take a moment to thank my wonderful wife, Hannah, for organizing this beautiful evening. She beamed at me, oblivious to the storm about to hit. But more than that, I continued, turning toward the massive TV screen mounted on the wall. I want to celebrate what an adventurous and passionate woman she is. With a single press of a button, the screen came to life. Gasps rippled through the room as Hannah's image appeared in stunning HD clarity, writhing beneath Ethan, moaning his name without shame. For a moment, there was only silence. And then chaos. A glass shattered. Someone let out a sharp gasp. Hannah's face drained of color, her perfect composure cracking like fragile glass. Ethan, mid-sip, choked violently on his drink, eyes wide with horror. The room had barely begun to process what they were seeing when the next clip started playing. Another man. Another betrayal. Hannah let out a strangled scream. Turn it off. Please turn it off. But I didn't. Because there was one last twist. A slow, deliberate clap cut through the stunned silence. The wife of Hannah's second affair partner stepped forward, a knowing smirk playing on her lips. This, she said, her voice dripping with amusement, is absolutely priceless. Cheats deceiving each other. I almost feel bad, almost. Hannah's betrayal wasn't just exposed, it was immortalized. Her world, the one she had built on lies, had come crashing down in front of everyone she had sought to impress. There was no coming back from this. And as she stood there, shaking, humiliated, utterly ruined, I simply smirked and pressed play on the next clip. The room had been filled with laughter, the gentle hum of conversation, the clinking of glasses, and the warmth of a carefully curated gathering. Hannah, my wife, at least for now, stood at the center of it all, draped in a stunning red dress, radiating charm and effortless elegance. She thrived in these moments, where admiration poured over her like champagne, where she could bask in the glow of social validation. But beneath that perfect image, beneath the carefully constructed facade, lurked a truth so vile it had festered in the shadows for too long. Tonight, I would drag it into the light. A hush fell over the room as I raised my glass, commanding attention with a simple, knowing smile. Everyone, I began, my voice calm and composed, let's take a moment to appreciate my wonderful wife, Hannah, for organizing such a spectacular evening. Applause rippled through the crowd, and she beamed, unaware that this was the last moment she would ever hold her head high in this room. But more than that, I continued, turning toward the massive screen mounted on the wall, I want to celebrate just how adventurous and passionate she truly is. With a single press of a button, the speakers crackled to life, and suddenly, the party wasn't filled with laughter anymore. It was filled with her. Moans, gasps, whispered names. The unmistakable sound of betrayal echoed through the speakers, spilling into the stunned silence like a funeral dirge for our marriage. The air thickened with tension, eyes darting between Hannah and the screen, which now displayed her in full HD clarity, entangled with another man, her body arching, her lips forming a name that was most definitely not mine. A sharp inhale, a muffled gasp. Someone covered their mouth, while others shifted uncomfortably, caught between shock and secondhand shame. And then came the second blow. The video shifted. A new man, a new betrayal. A strangled sound tore from Hannah's throat. "Turn it off," she screeched, her voice raw with panic. "Please, turn it off." But I didn't, because this night had one final twist left. A slow, deliberate clap broke through the stunned silence. Clap, clap, clap. Heads turned. A woman I had never met before stepped forward from the crowd. She had striking auburn hair, sharp cheekbones, and an expression carved from pure simmering rage. But she wasn't yelling. She wasn't crying. She was smiling. "This," she said, her voice smooth and venomous, "is priceless." A low laugh escaped her lips, amusement flickering in her eyes. Cheats deceiving each other. "You really thought you were smart, didn't you, Hannah?" She tilted her head, watching my wife with pure, mocking pity. "Sleeping with my husband while your little boy toy was screwing someone else behind your back?" Hannah whipped around, her face a portrait of horror, the red of her dress paling against the sheer panic in her eyes. "What?" Her voice cracked, barely above a whisper. I smirked. The third and final bomb was about to drop. I turned toward the man on screen, Hannah's second affair partner. I had only confirmed he was married days before the party. His name was Ryan. And Ryan, oh, he was sweating bullets now. Sophia, his wife, crossed her arms and arched a brow at him. "Oh, you didn't tell her, did you?" she mused, her voice saccharine sweet. Then, turning to Hannah, she delivered the final nail in the coffin. "Ryan here has been cheating on both of us." She let the words sink in, watching as Hannah's face twisted in disbelief. "That's right, sweetheart. You were just another side piece in his little collection." Hannah staggered backward, her breath shallow, her eyes wild as if searching for an escape. Ryan, scrambling, reached for Sophia's wrist. "We'll talk about this at home." Sophia yanked her arm away with a disgusted laugh. "Oh, we'll talk about it all right. In divorce court." Boom. Another relationship obliterated in real time. Gasps rippled through the crowd, some guests whispering in disbelief, others outright recording the scene on their phones. The carefully curated social circle that Hannah had worked so hard to maintain had now become an audience to her spectacular downfall. She turned desperate now, looking for salvation. Her eyes landed on Ethan, her original affair partner, the one she had been so sure of. "Babe," she pleaded, her voice thick with desperation. "You believe me, don't you?" Ethan, who had been silent until now, finally spoke. His face was pale, his jaw clenched, and his hands slowly raised in surrender. "Are you insane?" he snapped. "I didn't know you were screwing another guy." Hannah gasped, stepping closer. You don't mean that. Oh, I do. His lips curled in disgust. I was stupid enough to fall for you. But I'm not that stupid. She lunged for him, but he stepped back, shaking his head in disbelief. You know what? He exhaled sharply, turning to me. I get it now. You set this whole thing up, didn't you? I simply shrugged. I just let the truth reveal itself. Ethan clenched his jaw, glancing once more at Hannah before letting out a humorless chuckle. Lose my number. And with that, he walked out. Hannah collapsed onto the floor, sobbing. In the span of 15 minutes, everything had been ripped away from her. Her marriage, her lovers, her reputation. She had built a life on lies, and now, every single one of them had been laid bare for all to see. But I wasn't done yet. I took a slow sip of my drink, looking down at my soon-to-be ex-wife. Oh, by the way, I said, my tone almost casual. I've already filed for divorce. Her head snapped up, her tear-streaked face twisting in horror. You what? I filed yesterday, I said smoothly. And I have all the evidence I need for full custody of our assets. Her eyes widened in sheer panic. Wait, we can fix this. I made a mistake. A laugh rumbled from my chest, deep, unforced, and laced with satisfaction. You didn't just make a mistake, Hannah. My voice turned cold. You made a series of conscious choices. And now you're paying the price. She scrambled to her feet, her hands trembling as she reached for me. I love you. Please. I stepped back. You love yourself, I said simply. And that's the only person who will ever stand by you now. A guttural scream tore from her lips as I turned my back to her. The party was over. And so was she. In the aftermath, Hannah lost everything in the divorce. No house, no assets, no dignity. Ethan ghosted her completely, blocked on everything. Sophia took Ryan to the cleaners in court. And me? I thrived. Months later, I heard through a mutual friend that Hannah was still struggling. She had become a social pariah, forced to move out of state, unable to escape the humiliation that had stained her name. And every now and then, when I think back to that night, the night her entire world collapsed around her, I smile. Because in the end, she deserved every second of it. Cheaters always think they're smarter than the ones they betray. But the truth always finds them. And when it does, it destroys them.